from a rotten bale. Too much monkey business, too much monkey business. There's too much monkey business for me to be fine.
That's probably a good segue to talking a little bit about the Mighty Peking Man itself. This is a cult film, and it's one of those films that's a cult film because it's so bad it's good. Although it's not bad in the sense that it's cheap or incompetent. I think you'll see that it's fairly well made. It's just very, very silly, very, very entertaining. One of the movie's biggest fans is director Quentin Tarantino, who actually bought the rights and re-released it theatrically and then put it out on DVD around 1999. And in fact, we'll see tonight's print actually has Quentin Tarantino's Rolling Thunder logo on the beginning of it. The film was made in 1977 in Hong Kong by the Shaw Brothers. It was also called, see there, called Goliathon. The film's original title is Xing Xing Wong. It was one of a number of movies produced to capitalize on the publicity created by the Dino De Laurentiis remake of King Kong in 1975. Others included, well, that was a sequel to King Kong, and there we see the most recent remake, Peter Jackson's version of King Kong. But when the first one came out in 1975, not only had Mighty Peking Man, which leaped on the bandwagon, you also have this Korean film called Ape, and there in this Dutch poster or Belgian poster calls it King Kong. This says, not to be confused with the original King Kong. Oh, all right, I guess I won't. You should tell me not to. And then you also have a British spoof called Queen Kong. So the 1975 version of King Kong spawned a number of imitations when there's ever going to be a blockbuster film, which certainly Dino De Laurentiis was hoping that his remake of King Kong would be, then people sort of jump on the bandwagon. The Shaw Brothers were Run Run Shaw and Run Me Shaw, and their careers began in Singapore in 1924 as exhibitors. They ran movie theaters. They moved to Hong Kong in 1957, and in 1961 they opened their own production studio in Hong Kong to make movies and became one of the largest filmmaking companies in Hong Kong. Most of their films, or a large number of their films, were martial arts movies like this, but they also made a number of fantasy films, as you can see from that other poster. Mighty Peking Man was directed by Meng Hua Ho, who worked on a number of a variety of genres in his career, and the scripter is a man named Li Quan, who wrote 300 novels and 400 movie scripts, including such famous films as Inframan. He also wrote Fist of Fury with Bruce Lee, a film called Five Deadly Venoms, which is a very groundbreaking martial arts movie, Crippled Avenger, Human Lanterns, Bloody Parrot, etc., etc. So very prolific screenwriter there. The special effects in Mighty Peking Man were supervised by Japanese special effects technicians who had, of course, years of experience working with miniature sets and pseudomation technology. Japan, as I mentioned earlier, developed the kaiju giant monster genre with Godzilla in the 1950s. And they continued, in fact, they continue to make those movies today, movies and television series, still using the pseudomation technology, but it's increasingly sophisticated and sometimes combined with CGI. The two stars of Mighty Peking Man, besides Mighty Peking Man himself, are Danny Lee, who was a Shaw Brothers actor. He was also in Inframan, and he was also in a great film called The Oily Maniac, which is probably sort of relevant today. I mean, like I said, you remake Oily Maniac and set it in the Gulf of Mexico. Danny Lee also later became a producer and a director, and as an actor, he can also be seen in John Woo's cult film called The Killer. His co-star was a lady named Evelyn Kraft. She's called Samantha in the English version of Mighty Peking Man. We're going to see tonight. In the original version, she was named Ah Wei. Evelyn Kraft was born in the Soviet Union. She's of Swiss-German descent. She had a relatively short acting career in the 1970s, mostly in European cinema, including the title role of a film called Lady Dracula. She retired for some reason fairly soon after making Mighty Peking Man, and spent most of the rest of her life actually in Africa, where her husband had a business, and she unfortunately died last year, January of 2009. You might wonder why this film is called Mighty Peking Man, especially after you see it, because it takes place in India, it takes place in Hong Kong, it doesn't take place in Peking at all. In fact, there's no real suggestion that Utam, as the monster is called, came from Peking. He comes from underneath a mountain in the Himalayas. Well, I have to confess that perhaps this movie is a little bit of a ringer in terms of exploitation, because he really isn't a giant gorilla. And I hate to break that news to you. He's supposed to be a huge version of the prehistoric Peking man, aka Homo erectus pekinensis, which is a real scientific creature whose fossils were discovered near Peking, hence the name Peking Man, in the 1920s. Estimated to be about 500,000 years old. You know, it's an actual scientific creature like the Neanderthal man, etc. The steps on the evolutionary scale up to the current modern man. The film therefore suggests that Utam is a missing link rather than simply like a giant animal, a giant gorilla, and that would explain to some degree his human-like behavior. So it looks like it's just about that time. And by that time, I don't mean time for the movie quite yet. I mean time for Dave's annual retro movie theme song. Yes, ignoring the thousands of requests I've had not to do this again, I have written a theme song for Mighty Peking Man since they didn't see fit to write one for the movie itself. There is a very long and very sappy, romantic interlude at the beginning of the film, and it does have a song, but not as good as my song. It's my theme song. The Mighty Ballad of the Mighty Peking Man, I will admit, the tune is taken from a theme song for a great Rock Mitchell movie about bootleggers called Thunder Road, and so I call it the Ballad of the Mighty Peking Man. I have to do it a cappella. Sorry about that. Let me tell the story, I'll do the best I can, about the giant creature called the Mighty Peking Man. He stomped all over India, stomped on Hong Kong too, and if you're not real careful, he will surely stomp on you. He lived deep in the jungle, didn't have a friend, until that fateful day Samantha's flight came to an end. He loved her long blonde hair, her fur bikini too, but being a hairy giant, there was not much he could do. He is the mighty, mighty, mighty Peking Man. He is big and hairy and can crush you in his hand, but he is furry, harmless, wouldn't hurt a squirrel, unless you do something stupid, like kidnap his best girl. Mighty Peking Man got captured, they took him to town, but much to their dismay, they learned they couldn't keep him down. He tore up the city, looking for his friend, but they called in the army, and Mighty Peking met his end. He is a mighty, mighty, mighty Peking Man. He is big and hairy and can crush you in his hand, but he is furry, harmless, wouldn't hurt a squirrel, unless you do something stupid, like kidnap his best girl. Thank you. Tarantino really missed a bet when he didn't ask me to do that for the DVD, but maybe next time. All right, well, it's sad to realize the Hirshhorn summer camp is coming to an end for another year. As always, I think Kelly Gordon, the organizer of the series, deserves a round of applause. As does Sarah Gordon, who makes sure that the pictures that appear on the screen and the sound can be heard. She's the And the other Hirshhorn staff has given us the opportunity once again to enjoy some great movies during the summer. Hope to see you back again next year, and for now, enjoy The Mighty Peking Man.
Run to and fro, hard working at the mill, never fail in the mail, yet come a rotten bale. Too much monkey business, too much monkey business.